Really went for that mushroom head vibe today, didn't I? Hello guys, welcome to a video that wasn't planned for today. I had something else very much in mind, but I have decided to sit down and just chat to you today because I've had a bit of a week and it's really made me think about a lot of different things, and I kind of just wanted to sit and chat to you about them. So if you were coming here expecting me to be parading around in blazers, that was the video that was going to be today, you can expect that next week. So I made myself a nice calming cup of green tea, and I just wanted to chat a little bit about a topic that's very prevalent right now. A lot of people are talking about it, rightly so, and I feel like I have some things that I want to say about it, so I wanted to make a video too. So we're going to be talking about mental health and social media. I was toying with the idea of sitting down and making this video, and then I saw Sammi from Samantha Maria, you know her, make a really raw and honest and vulnerable video, and I was watching it, and like halfway through I just found myself starting to take notes, and I thought she has literally summed up every single thing in my brain and said it so well and so eloquently. So I highly suggest you guys go and watch that video because she's really opening up and talking about her own personal experiences with this issue, and I think it's great that she's done that. So thank you to Sammi for making that video. I think this is far too hot to drink. I'm gonna put this down. I've kind of skated over this subject matter quite a few times in recent years on my channel. I've mentioned it here and there. I've done a few sit down little chats about it, probably somewhere in the middle of a vlog. And I always feel this kind of concern when I'm doing that it's gonna come across as me just sitting down and having a moan, you know, sitting down and saying, my life is this, my life is that, and having no solutions. And I really don't want it to be like that. 99% of you watching this video have probably never posted anything online, whether that's social media, YouTube, you know, even just putting a picture of your food up on Instagram, and you can't necessarily relate to my struggles. And you're all here just to watch me put makeup on my face and, you know, show you my dog. So if you're that person, here you go. Sorry, I just manhandled you then. But I kind of thought it was important to not only address, you know, the people out there that do understand how social media can influence mental health, but also to those who just have no idea and can't relate to it. I think it's important to kind of give you an insight into the goings on and the behind the scenes and how things really work, because I think the best thing in life that we can do in any situation or circumstance that we can't relate to or we can't understand is just to learn. You know, there's no point being ignorant and just deciding something is a certain way because we're not informed on it. So I, with this video, hopefully just want to kind of inform and educate you guys on what I feel is more the bigger picture of this topic. And I'm going to obviously be talking about my own situations and circumstances in this because that's what I have to bring to the table and to relate to. But it is so much bigger than me. I am such a small fish in a huge, massive ocean of a pond. But you know what? I think if I can help to inform one or two people with this video, then that's fine with me. Tea time. Okay, so the first thing that I want to preface this whole chat with is a comment that I can literally feel some of you ready and waiting to type before even watching the rest of this video, and that is, why don't you just quit and get another job? Clearly this isn't working for you. I cannot tell you how many times I have read that comment or various different iterations of it, and I kind of have something to say to that. I fully understand that there are situations in your life, whether that's a work situation, a life situation, a relationship, where if things become toxic, you need to remove yourself from that. I understand that a lot of people would apply that thinking to a situation where someone is, you know, having real problems and struggles with their mental health because they have a job online. But what I always think when I see that comment is, I love my job. I am still kind of astounded and shocked that I went from doing something in a very conventional field. I worked in retail, for those of you who don't know, not enjoying it, not loving it, and having these like hopes and dreams and this hobby that to me was just so important and so much fun and just something that I dedicated all my extra time to, and that was YouTube. The fact that over the last 10 years, because I am now going into my 10th year here on YouTube, I am a veteran, so I feel like I can say this. The fact that I took that little hobby and dream and something that I enjoyed doing, and turned it into something that allowed me to now be living in London, a city that I could never have imagined being in, and being in the position to work with brands that I have loved all my life, to do a job where I have so much freedom. And honestly, just the privilege of being a YouTuber. Honestly, I think it is quite a big privilege. All of those things, I have to say, would not be possible without you watching this video. Hello, you there. Whether this is the first time you've ever clicked on my face or you've been watching since day one when I posted my very shaky and confused first YouTube video. There is so much work behind YouTube. I know a lot of people like to think it's the easiest job in the world. It's not the hardest job, but there is a lot of work involved. That is what I will say. That is something I'm so immensely proud of, and I would never want to give that up. I have grown a business, because I am a business now, from posting a few pictures on the internet, and it's now something that is my life, and that is incredible to me. I find it really hard to say this without sounding like the biggest headed bragging person ever, but I feel like I should give myself some credit that I managed to achieve what I have achieved alongside the help of you. And here together we are now in this place that we are. Like I said before, I am still just the tiniest little tadpole and practically a sea monkey. I don't have that staple badge of 1 million subscribers, but you know what? I chug along and I think I'm doing okay. So to those of you whose automatic response is just quit your job, find something new, get offline, I could never. I'd be kicking and screaming and having my camera and laptop wrenched away from me before that time happened. So that is not a place we're going to go to, because believe it or not, that's never something that's occurred to me and never something I ever want to do. So that brings me on to the job itself. I love this job. I feel like I've always been a very creative person in some way throughout my whole life, and I think YouTube really is one of the most, or the more creative outlets you can find. The thrill of creating something, whether it's a post, a picture, a video, and putting 30 seconds of editing time into it or 2 or 3 days into it, the thrill of pressing publish or upload and seeing that go out into the world is still something that gives me so much joy. And I'll admit there's times where I've put things up for the sake of it, because I felt like that's what I needed to do, because I had to stick to a schedule and I had to give you something, and I've not felt as proud pressing that button. But there are times, like just 2 weeks ago, when I posted a very spontaneous and, you know, arty out there video, which I loved, and the thrill of seeing comments from you guys come into that was just, it's unexplainable. It's such a highlight of this job, and knowing that that's still there for me is what tells me that it is the thing I want to be doing. What I think is the place where things get a little bit tougher to manage and to deal with, and then these thoughts start creeping in of, wow, is this why I'm doing this? Well, you know, what is all this for? Is what comes back from the other side. I'm not going to go into detail about the types of messages and the types of feedback and things that people feel that it's okay to comment on. Just this week, and this is one of the reasons that I wanted to sit and film this video, I posted on Instagram that I had received the most horrific message from someone who honestly probably didn't even know who I was. They just felt the need to put that out into the world. That is where things start to get difficult, and this is another thing that I think is pretty much common knowledge, and everybody will resort back to this, is that, you know, you're getting 100 positive comments and 1 awful one. Why is it that that is so important and placed on such a pedestal and all the others get forgotten about? And it really, I think, is down to the type of person. I'm sure there are some people that can receive all the hate and all the messages and it, you know, it just doesn't affect them. To be honest, when I started this, I didn't get a lot of those type of messages, and when I did, I was able to brush them off quite easily. But I think if you are the type of person who is more sensitive, or, you know, is dealing with issues themselves offline and, you know, removed from YouTube, sometimes something can just hit a nerve, and it's not logical, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it can hurt so much that it can spiral. And 2 days ago was one of those situations for me. I received a comment, and it was one of the most horrific things that I have ever received. It literally sent a shiver down my spine when I read it. It's not the first time I've had that type of comment before, but, you know, there we go. And that was one of the first things that I read that morning. That was how I started my day, and I could not shake it from my mind. It actually scared me, to the point where I sat on my bathroom floor for 2 hours and just sort of had a small breakdown. My mental health has always been something that's a little bit of a question mark. But, you know, over the course of my life, it's gone up, it's gone down, it's gone up again. There's been years, in fact, where everything has been fine and it's not affected me. And then there's been times in my life where I've been so low that I'm surprised I'm still here. I can laugh about that because it's me, and I find self-deprecating humour to be very useful. So that whole day I was just in this bubble and I felt like I couldn't get out of it. It's like punching at walls that won't break. You just feel like you're immersed and underwater and there's no air to breathe. I was supposed to be going out for dinner that night with some family, friends of family, and I just said, you know what, I don't want to be outside with humans. I can't do this. I need to just not be around people right now. And that's just letting people win, really. That is probably the response that person wanted to initiate with that comment. And I kind of realised that, sat on the floor and cried some more for a couple more hours, and then just tried to take it step by step at a time. I got in the shower and I put some makeup on. And in the end I went out and it was horrible and I couldn't take my mind off of it for the whole night, but I still did it. And that's something that personally I'm really trying to learn to do. And in that instance I was able to do alone. I had no one else around me. But I don't think that that is the case for everyone. There are people that would not have been able to get off of the bathroom floor, and that to me is very concerning and scary, and I never want a person to feel so alone in that moment as I did and feel like there was no hope just from that one small thing triggering a reaction that is, you know, more so inward and to do with yourself and how you feel, but still a trigger nonetheless. For the past couple of weeks I have really been thinking about Caroline Flack a lot. I feel like it's a very UK based news story and something that people in the rest of the world aren't too familiar with, but Caroline Flack was a TV presenter. She had been around for a really long time. I watched her on The X Factor years and years ago. She presented Love Island, which maybe more of you will know, and was really at the centre of this kind of absolute barrage of online hate. It was very apparent to see. It wasn't just something you had to go digging for. There was so much hate everywhere, and a few weeks ago she ended up taking her own life. It really was just like a blow to the chest that I found out that had happened. A person that I never met and didn't know, with her own issues and her own mental health struggles that the world will never know and should really speculate on ever at all, could be put in that position where they felt like there was nothing else to do. I just know that reading one thing about yourself can hurt so much that it really is scary and it really is terrifying that people's words, nameless people, faceless people, have the power with a few small words to do that. So this really makes me want to talk about the way that we treat people who are online, who are in the public eye, who are just, you know, there for a lot of people to see. Not only how we interact with them directly by leaving comments, talking about them, but actually how our thought process works when it comes to having an opinion. I really think that this has come down to not being able to see the line, and there is a line between people online and in the world that are real and people that are characters. So we sit down, we watch a TV show, we watch a film, a movie, and there's a character in it and you have thoughts about them. Oh, they're great, they're awful, they're horrible, they should definitely die in this scene. Oh, I love that person, I want to know more about them. Her hair is awful, you know, why did they put that dress on her? Our minds are so programmed and so used to thinking that when it comes to looking at characters. And we see that as totally okay, you know, you can hate somebody in a film because they're designed to be hated. That is the response that the writer or the director wants to elicit from you. And I think what has happened is that that line between having, you know, very strong feelings about a character in a show or a movie has been completely blurred when it comes to more reality aspects of entertainment, that being reality shows, celebrities, YouTubers, anyone you see in an online capacity that is just being themselves. We are all complex human beings, you know, we're not written in a script, we don't have a paragraph defining our character. We can mess up, we can make huge mistakes, we can say things that aren't really good. But I think what has then happened is that we apply that same mentality of, oh wow, they should die in the next scene because they are no good. It's basically cancel culture. That is the very extreme side of it, I think, but also it goes down to the absolute like little tiny nitty gritty of it, saying your face is fat. Why have you gained weight? You should never have bought those jeans. Take them back straight away. Your hips are massive. Don't even think about putting that bikini on again. Now, if you were my best friend in the world saying that to me, I'd understand. I'd still probably slap you around the face a little bit, but I would listen to you. I'd probably just wear the jeans anyway because, you know, I love them and I don't care how big my hips look. But that comes from a place of love and respect, whereas a lot of the time, I think people that comment these very like silly, insignificant types of things, more observations on people, are doing it in the way that they would if they were sitting on the sofa with their friends watching Netflix and saying, Rachel Green should not have worn that top. It's not a good look. It just seems so unnecessary. And when you really think about it in that way, we need to detach those two things. We need to think very differently about the way that we address real people and even the way that our mind processes them as we do with made-up characters, because I truly think we are losing our humanity. I truly think that is why the world is a very sad place right now, and right in the middle, right sitting on that line, is where social media sits, because it is so easy to be nameless on Twitter, to comment on someone or something, and it just, to you, it's 1 second in your day. You write it down, you forget about it, you go have a coffee, you go to work. It's become so easy now to comment on real people's lives and real people's situations that it doesn't even seem like a big deal. That is what's scary to me, and I think we really need to take a step back and realize what we're doing. And, you know, you could be saying the most harmful, the most innocent of things. I still think it's important to pull ourselves up every now and then and make sure we're not doing something that is just breeding this kind of behavior, because all contributions, big or small, really do amount up to this culture of just picking apart absolutely everybody that we see and interact with. I'm not saying that we should ever put people in an echo chamber of, you know, good criticism, praise, you know, fangirling over them, because people should be called up on things that they are doing that, you know, are immoral or are hurting people, but not because the colour of their shoes makes their face look weird, in your opinion. The main word that comes to my mind when I think about life online is pressure. Pressure is something that is so prevalent in my everyday life that, you know, for a long time I didn't even realise that it is sometimes quite crushing and really hard to deal with, and that is something that I want to talk about. I do not have the pressure of having 30 seconds to save somebody's life in A&E. I don't have the pressure of running a team and having people report to me and having to make sure that not only I'm doing my job, but they are as well. I also don't have the pressure of working a 50-hour week for minimum wage, having to provide for a family, having to make sure they're fed and clothed. Everything really is relative, and I don't think we should ever discount people's experiences because there are people that have it worse off. There will always be people that have things worse off than you, unfortunately. There will always be people that have things better off than you. But what I want to explain to you guys is the pressure that I feel like people online feel that isn't necessarily something you really even realise. I was really trying to think about this, and I don't think in the past 9 and 10 years I have ever felt relaxed. That's quite a bold statement. That's, you know, that's a lot to unpack, really. Should probably write that one down for my therapist. But I truly can't think of a time or an extended period of time where I've ever felt relaxed in my working life. There is a constant pressure, and I truly think it mostly comes from inside and from yourself, to document, to take photos, to share. That's just the nature of YouTube. That's what it is, depending on, you know, how you build your channel and what your content is. 99% of it is going to be you sharing yourself. It's not you sharing something you've created with a team. It's not you sharing something that has nothing to do with you. It's sharing yourself. There are so many different categories of pressure that I could go into. I'm going to try and keep this quite simple. But the pressure of having to always be on, even when you're not thinking about it, just taking a picture on holiday, getting your phone out, thinking, oh, I should put this in the right ratio for Instagram, and suddenly you're drawn back into it. You know, you're not out of the loop. You're still in it, even though you thought, you know, I'm away, I'm on holiday, I'm relaxed. You're not. It's such a strange feeling, but you constantly feel like you're under a pressure to create. There's also pressure that comes from the external as well, the pressure of having to create something to a deadline, having to have something up and ready and scheduled in a very kind of imaginary, invisible schedule that you yourself have created, but then other people expect you to adhere to and stick to religiously. The pressure of that content having to be better and better and better every single time. pressure of having to find new ideas, the pressure of having to keep current and, you know, keep on trend, the pressure of having to maintain consistent views, having to build subscribers, the pressure that I experienced just trying to sit down and make this video in which I am on my sofa still wearing my pajamas on the bottom half, business on the top, party on the bottom. The pressure of knowing that I had to make my hair look nice, that I had to put makeup on, that I had to wear human clothes. All my clothes are human clothes, but you get the gist. The pressure I felt just this morning sitting down to make this very casual, very chatty, very throwaway video, it just really, when you think about it, it's a lot. I very easily could have sat down here, you know, fully in my pajamas, not with a jumper on top, without having brushed my hair or done my makeup. But I know that I would have received judgment for that. This goes back to what I was saying earlier, but the online space is a very, very judgmental place to be. YouTube in particular, because it's all so visual. Things have to look a certain way. You have to look a certain way. Why don't you look like this? You know, why do you not conform? I love that there are people on here trying very hard not to be overruled by that, to just be who they are, to not overthink things and to be themselves. But I think hand in hand, it comes with a lot more judgment and negativity, and that's something that I can't deal with. So subconsciously I choose to make my face look nicer. Subconsciously I choose to do my hair. Such small, insignificant things that you never would think about, but things that I do because it's just not worth the repercussions. There really are so many more things I could go into, and things that I'm going to be editing this video and will have realised, oh, I should have said that, I really wanted to get that point across. But just the overwhelming thing is that there is this pressure on your shoulders. I'm sure if we could actually see our pressure manifested in little suitcases on our shoulders, we'd look around and everybody would be carrying their own baggage. But the difference is, I think people see YouTubers as having the easiest, happiest, you know, great lives with free gifts, free holidays, free this, free that. It's usually the thing people tend to gravitate towards as being the reason to justify the way that maybe influencers and YouTubers are treated. But we are just humans with an unconventional job. That at the end of the day, that is what we are. I'm the same as you. I had a small meltdown a week ago because I ran out of milk to have with my Cheerios, you know. I am just a normal person, and I think myself and the rest of the online world deserve to be treated like that. So this brings me to my final point that I wanted to talk about. This video's been very rambly and very long. Is that more and more these days I see a comment which is kind of separate to the other things I've been discussing, but just as important and also just as harmful, and that is, I miss the old you. I miss you when you first started YouTube. I miss you from 2010. You were so much more fun then. I miss the Alex before she moved to London. I miss the Alex when she was single. I miss the Alex when she was in a relationship. All very conflicting statements. I have to break it to you guys, and I don't know if this is going to be difficult for you to hear, but I am not the same person I was 10 years ago, and I hope that you aren't either. We are always growing and adapting and evolving, and that's so important and integral to our lives. If I was the same person I was when I was, how old am I now? If I was the same person I was when I was 17, 10 years ago, I would not be very happy with the progress I'd made in life, you know. I've gone from being a teenager to being an adult, nearly 30 years old, here on the internet. And if I hadn't have changed and hadn't have grown, there would probably be something deeply wrong inside of me. I think recently, coming into a new decade, it being 2020, and the 10-year challenge going around and being quite a big thing on social media, it really made me think a lot about that, and that we just are not the same babies that we were 10 years ago. I personally was in a relationship that I should not have been in. I had just moved into my very first flat. I just moved out of home. I had my first proper job. I had a lot of different friends that I don't have now. I had, you know, most of my family intact. And I was a very naive child because of all of that. I was still living in a bubble of protection and security. And I would never ever wish upon anyone in the world, anyone watching this video, to have to go through things that really pull you out of that and are hurtful and that are painful and, you know, make you change. But I did. I experienced a lot of things in a very short space of time, actually, which is quite intense. That, you know, made me grow up. I think for the first 5 years of YouTube, the kind of like first half of my internet career, I was very consistent, and I was that maybe slightly more kind of well-spoken, polite, thoughtful, shy, quiet, unopinionated little mouse of a person. And you may love that version of me, and you know what, that is there documented on the internet for you to go and enjoy. But you know, I'm 27 years old now, I'm a woman, and I have kind of realised my worth a little bit more. I've realised that I don't have to be that very like doormat person who takes criticism, even if I don't agree with it, takes the kind of barrage of negativity that is thrown at me when it gets to a point that it is unacceptable and that, you know, it's just not warranted at all. And I think I am a person now who really does or tries to stand up for myself. I don't always, you know, do it the best. I'm still flawed, I'm still learning, but if I have learned anything in the past 10 years is to stand up for what I believe in. To actually make a point to that whole tangent, I stick up for myself now. I'm a different person. I've grown, I've changed, I've had different relationships, I've met different people, I live in a different city. I'm not gonna be the same person that I was 10 years ago, and that to me is a good thing. When you're watching your favorite YouTuber and you start to think, you know what, this person is not the same as they used to be when I subscribed to them, you know, 6 months ago, a year ago, 4 years ago. And you know what? I don't like it. I don't like that they've gone off on this tangent of their life. I don't like that they say things differently now or talk about different subjects. I think the only thing to do in that situation is to remove yourself from it. That is the point where we can apply the removing yourself from a situation that doesn't make you feel good. Just unsubscribe. Say goodbye. You don't have to announce it verbally. I'm unsubscribing from you today and these are the reasons why. You don't need to tell someone that. You can move on with your life. You can check back in 6 months later just to see if, you know, maybe what I've changed or they've changed or we've both changed. And that's okay too. I think basically that comes down to such a simple thing that we should all keep in the back of our minds, is that if you don't like someone, you don't have to have them in your life. You don't have to tell them the reasons why. You don't have to make sure other people know the reasons why. You don't have to talk about them on a separate platform where, you know, you think it's okay because they can't see what you're discussing, but actually you're just drawing more and more people into this negative space. You can carry on with your life without thinking those thoughts, without telling people those things, and without, you know, putting that out into the world, and be absolutely fine. I think if I could relate myself to one character in anything I've ever seen in my life, it would be the girl in Mean Girls who just wants to bake a cake full of rainbows and smiles for everyone to eat and be happy.
I just have a lot of feelings.
I just wish everybody could be kind. I wish we lived in a world where there was no hate and no anger, when people did things that other people didn't agree with, that they came together to find a solution for it and it was just done with love. I am a tears and rainbows and fairies girl, deep down inside. I know that that is an unrealistic expectation of the world and it's never going to be that way, as much as I hope it could. But I think all we can do, personally, is just be kind. People are saying it a lot at the moment and you're hearing it around, and I think it's easy to zone out from it and not really listen to the message behind it, but it really is a message that can resonate on so many different levels, and something that I think is more important than people are making it out to be. Just be kind. Whether it's a physical act of kindness, which will go a long way, or whether it's just your mindset. If you're being kind in your mind, that will carry over into so many different aspects of not only your life, but potentially maybe hundreds of others. So that's quite nice that we're ending this video on a positive note. I've gone through my checklist of things to say. I'm sure there's many more topics that I didn't cover that I probably would have wanted to, but there is my brain dump for you guys to behold. Thank you for watching this. I'd really love it if we could think about that in the comments. I'm not asking for an echo chamber of love and happiness. I think constructive criticism is so important. So let's have a discussion about this. Let's talk to each other. Let's not just leave an instant comment that we're not going to think about later. Let's think, you know, someone's going to read this. I'm going to read every single one of your comments. I always do. Somebody else might read them and be affected by them. So let's really think about that. Let's have a chat. Do you agree? Are there parts of this video that resonate with you? Are there things that maybe you think I need to take a look at and think a bit more about? That would be so great. So I'm going to leave you here. Thank you guys for watching this spontaneous rambly video. I was trying to do a weird wink then. They're always the most interesting to edit, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, thank you all for being here, and I will see you soon. Bye.